Many times companies that we're speaking to will ask the question, what type of companies do you work with? And so I put together this mini presentation, a mini resume to answer that question. My career as a professional starts at DuPont in 1990, but before that, I worked at Mobil Oil. Then it was Mobil Oil, now it's called Mobil Exxon. There I worked as what they called a sales engineer. I was the one that would go in with the salesperson as the technologist. So I had a training in both sales as well as training in equipment, how it worked, why it worked, basically how everything moved. It was a wonderful experience, which gave me a bird's eye view of just about everything in manufacturing that used lubrication, meaning if it used oil and it was metal-to-metal friction, with Mobil, I was there in the plants. I was a certified tribologist. I worked in things like paper mills, heavy earth-moving equipment, as well as companies like Boeing, Aerospace, actually helping them with their machinery to make sure that it was properly lubricated from the hydraulic side or pneumatic compressors, any of that. My career, it starts in manufacturing. First with ExxonMobil, and then with the DuPont company where I was making nylon carpet for the automotive industry. And then from there I was a maintenance supervisor, and then from there I was a process engineer, again, all in the nylon vertical. And then there was a quick segue. I moved over to the paint processing side of DuPont, where I was supplying paint to the automotive firms. From that place, I've transferred over into GM, where I was actually working at the Blazer plant over in Ohio. And then from there, I made a segue over to Fanuc Robotics. I've now been in manufacturing the whole time. At this point, I'm making things. I'm learning how things are made quickly and efficiently. All the different processes, from screw melters to riveting to laser welding to spot welding, pick and place to presses. I'm now learning all of that, and I'm learning how things are made. So at that point, when we go from things are made, I'm now at Fanuc Robotics. Fanuc Robotics gave me a breadth of knowledge in the automotive industry because I went right back in and started working with companies like Honda, BMW, the GM family of products. Now I'm in the plants. We're making 300 cars a night, but I'm seeing the whole process from A to B, from both the paint side and the assembly side. And I'm also getting exposure to the first and second tier suppliers. And I'm still in manufacturing, still making stuff. But then something happened. In 1997, I interviewed for a job as a salesperson to run the international accounts in the southern corridor of the United States. At that point, Nissan was a relatively new company, had only shown up there in the 80s. Honda came into the picture, then BMW came into the picture, and then Mercedes built a plant, and all the first and second tier suppliers popped up in the late 90s, coming into the 2000s. And guess what? I was right there. I was participating there as a salesperson as well as service person for the area, and that's where I really learned marketing. Because at that point, I had to learn how to get to a customer, learn how to deal with buyers, learn how to sell and quote and coordinate and deliver product into a client or customer. So now I've moved from manufacturing, now sales and marketing. At that point, the internet just started to move. This was the early 2000s of the internet and websites. All that started to become the mainstay. I started learning to build websites and learning how to use online advertising to get leads in, email marketing and such. So 1997 until 2004, I'm now in sales and marketing, selling into heavy equipment, selling into industry, learning how to do websites, learning about pay-per-click, learning all that new internet marketing, learning about new media. Then in 2004, after a successful stint in sales at Fanuc Robotics, I then moved into a consultancy. I started my own business. And one of the first businesses that I had is I went into a plant. I bought 40 robots that were used, and I started selling them out of a warehouse. So now I'm in the warehousing and logistics space because I have trucks moving around the country. I have a warehouse. I am moving robots in and out of the warehouse. I'm using eBay because it's brand new as the marketing media. I'm using press releases as a marketing media, and I'm also using pay-per-click and my regular website. So now I've taken everything that I've known and learned to this point, and now I'm doing it for myself as a business owner. That business did very well over the first 3 years that we had it, and then something happened. As you know, in 2008, there was a very significant economic downturn here in the United States. I felt it because my business was tied directly to GM. When GM was going out of business, for lack of a better term, and going bankrupt, they flooded the market with robots. And I was selling in the used marketplace. I was getting those robots for 5 cents on the dollar, and they were reducing them down to pennies on the dollar. Therefore, I had to liquidate my inventory. But a wonderful thing happened. At that point, I'm now working with all of these companies as a consultant. I leave manufacturing, leave the industrial space, and now I decide to become a speaker. And as I become a speaker, that led to a consulting practice for myself, because at that point I'd learned something called the Taguchi method. The Taguchi method was used in manufacturing, but the gentleman who taught this to me, Dr. James Bullock, he had started using it for advertising and marketing. Something from engineering, applying it to advertising, and we could see a 3 to 5x, meaning 300 to 500% increase in baseline for responsiveness on a website. And we were using it everywhere, on AdWords, on landing pages, and on websites. So now I've left manufacturing, taken the engineering thinking, applied it to advertising and marketing, and this thing called new media is coming into play. So now that takes us into 2004 through 2005. I'm now a speaker and I'm teaching and training as a consultant. 2005, 2006, 2007, then 2008 occurs. When 2008 gets here, social media is just about to take off. They're looking at this, at that point, young Senator Barack Obama, he started using social media in a way that no one else had seen it used before. He was going to use it to capture the presidency. We had the presence of mind at that point, both Brent Leary and I, to notice that there was something going on in social media, and we took it upon ourselves to document that in the case study, Barack Obama's Social Media Lessons for Business. That publication took us all around the world and also gave us a very significant amount of press and PR. This is where we learned about how advertising, press releases, public relations, and general word-of-mouth marketing work. And you can see here that we've shown up in major magazines, major outlets, major newspapers, network television, and or those publications. But more importantly, we also were able to speak on the EDU side. So on the educational front, we spoke at University of Delaware, we've spoken at University of Virginia, we've spoken at Middle Tennessee State University, and we've shown up in Fast Company Inc. magazine for Black Enterprise. That shows we've gone from manufacturing into marketing, into sales, and now into the exposure and PR side. Also, we got to speak all over the world, meaning Australia, over in France, into Canada, all over the United States, and as well as the Middle East. And along the way in 2009, I was also the tech editor for the AdWords for Dummies book. That being the case, every media, every channel, both online and offline, both belly-to-belly sales as well as the digital space, we have some experience with not only helping companies get started, but also selling their products, whether it be robots or dental services or jets or lubrication or grow boxes for tomatoes or software, vitamins, books, SEO services or pay-per-click services. We have run the gamut from manufacturing and heavy equipment all the way to services and down to smaller products like vitamins. When a customer asks me, who do you work with? Who do you like to work with? We've already worked with so many different companies. We have a very significant breadth of understanding of what offers are and what business practices are most applicable in every vertical. So business models, the way things are being sold, marketing, sales, exposure, as well as products. There are very few offers that we haven't seen, or we haven't seen something like it. Hopefully that gives you an understanding of where we've been over the last several years. Now, as far as successes, as an industrial salesman, I sold over $200 million worth of industrial goods, services, and training. The products and services that I sold into that space have accounted for well over, most likely $1 billion worth of sales. Wasn't selling directly, but my equipment helped those products to be made. And I was there to support those sales. And then we go further, internet marketing space, numerous clients and customers there. Again, from small business practices, lawyers, doctors, service technicians, robotics technicians, dentists, all the way to selling tangible goods like vitamins, tangible goods, safes, tangible goods, computers. This is where we've been over the last several years. The breadth is wide. We've had a lot of fun, but we also have real experience. This is not conceptual. We actually do what we're talking about. I've built websites, run the pay-per-click advertisements, put the lead generation in, and made the phone calls to make the sales in the end. If you have any questions or have a project that you'd like us to consider, we look forward to speaking with you. This is the small resume to say where we've been. If you want references, please let me know, and I can supply those. Again, this is David Bullock, and thank you so much for your time and attention. Be well.